So I wanted to do a video. I've been wanting to do this video for a very long time, and it's about Starseed moms and being a Starseed parent. So it's also about being Starseed dads as well, actually. Let's just call it Starseed parents, okay? And it's a powerful role that we are given. And I just wanted to share my perspective on how I have parented my star children, because they're both incredibly gifted. Every single child is gifted, every single one of them, every single one of us adults is gifted. We just need to open the space wide enough for that to be seen, right? Now, there's an awful lot of parents living their life through their children as to what they didn't achieve in their life. They try and fill a gap, they try and fill a hole by really pushing the child to do what they didn't manage to do in their lives, And I see that often. I was an exercise specialist for 19 years, and there was a lot of people that basically brought their children to be trained by me, and these kids have been going since 6-7 o'clock in the morning, and like 6 p.m. I'm receiving these kids after they've been to this practice and that practice and the other, and they're absolutely exhausted, but they're incredibly gifted and talented at the sporting arena, which is why the parents push them. However, what happens is they're just tired and they're just broken. And what happens when you have that kind of pressure, you basically switch off everything, which is their magic and joy within them, and you kind of program them, and then that is not a plan either. So, this is a kind of parenting that kind of like is old school, really old school, but we're moving into a time which is very new school. And, it's very difficult for a lot of us parents to go against what was done, we were brought up, and how it's always been, because there's a tribal consciousness there where we're like, well, fitting into society, let's talk about the schooling system. So the schooling systems right now, how they sit, it doesn't matter how holistic the school is. The bottom line is the mainstream of schooling is we all have to wear the same uniforms. We all stand in a line. We don't want you to stick out or be individual. Your opinions don't matter. There's only one solution to everything, and you have to kill yourself through study and hard work to know that you might have a little bit of ounce of achieving, which is not the case at all. Look, we do have a lot of amazing teachers out there, and we kind of like have a lot of diamonds in the rough where you have that one particular teacher that kind of goes balls to the wall and kind of doesn't do that, and they bring the child out, but it's a drip in the ocean in this massive schooling system. And for some kids, they thrive. And I'm going to use my kids as a perfect example. My son Bevan, who's 21 now, he went through an all-boys school, and he absolutely loved it. He was all the way through sports, loved being part of the whole shirt and tie and being part of something, and he loved that camaraderie, whereas my daughter, who is very, very sensitive, very, very different, she's basically climbing out of the school system. We've done it for 10 years. I don't know how many schools we've been in, but we've now just finally left our last one, and we're now homeschooling, of which she is just heart open, excited, the lights coming in her eyes. So you know what? Different children thrive in different ways. So it's not to say the old schooling system doesn't work. For some kids, it does. For some kids sitting at home and doing homeschooling, they'd suffer depression. They need other people. Whereas my daughter finds other people in different ways, and she's happy days to be at home studying. So it really is down to the individual, which is where this kind of holding space for these star seeds, that's actually what it's all about. It doesn't mean we should have wild abandon and go and live on farms and teach our children that way, even though that's actually quite lovely. But it's about listening to what the child is basically expressing to you from their heart, which works for them. And as parents and teachers, it's like, no, shush, not what your opinion's not wanted. This is what you're going to do. You're going to do as you're told. And like in the words of Eckhart Tolle, we do not own our children. We never have done. We don't own them. We are here as guardians and space holders as parents to bring them through in a loving environment, and so they know that they're safe, they know that they're loved, they know they're nurtured, but to stand back and hold a big enough space so they can find out who they are, and then they can actually also tap into their mission and purpose and get clear on that. And the way they get clear on that is by us as Starseed parents being clear on it ourselves. Now, I want to just share, this subject matter is huge, it's massive. And I just share from my opinion as a parent, and there's many different ways to climb a tree, let me tell you. So it's not just one, there's not just one way. Because we're all unique soul designs, even the kids, so we have to cater to that, But with the, I'm going to share a story. I had a very, very dear mother figure, Soraya, who was very, very dear to so many of us in Zimbabwe. And she was a powerful, powerful medicine woman, powerful. And many a time I'd sat with her in my home, because she lived in my home quite some time, when she came and held medicine ceremonies. And I also sat in medicine ceremonies with her where she's held space with me. This woman was like pure mother. Didn't have any kids of her own, but she was like the epitome of mother energy, right? And I remember sitting in medicine, just her and I was talking about how worried I was about my daughter. Now, my daughter, Ava, she's the sensitive type. You know, she has the ability to see and hear, closes it off though, and just, you know, sensitive to everything. Can't eat, like even a lettuce leaf, gets stomachache. She's just a sensitive starseed and has battled, as I did, living in this world, you know? And I was so worried about her. And Soraya said to me, she took my hands and she said, heal yourself and your children will heal. And I remember thinking, I remember it clear as day. Well, how's that going to work? Thanks for that. That's like really helpful. But I mean, like, I was like, how's this going to work? I was really like stumped. So I sat there and I processed it for a long time. And then I didn't realize it. But over the months, probably 2 years now since she said that to me, she sadly passed over, but she works with me a lot more than she did in physical. I have her on tap now. And I still feel that she holds space for me being a parent. And what she said was absolutely true, because from that moment on, I started to do some very powerful, deep inner work on myself. And I wasn't focused on fixing Ava, okay? Because essentially her issues were my issues. And now I look back on it, and I did all the inner work and I stopped basically looking at her and going, you know, why are you so dysfunctional? What's the issue here? And disregarding my own issues. I went deep, deep into myself and I did a lot of healing work, and I will continue to do so. And blow me down, I look around now and she is like, when I think back to 2 years ago or round about 2-3 years ago, she is a different child. And I think, wow, look how that's happened. And how did that happen? Because I took responsibility for my stuff, my ancestral lineage, that I went, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not going beyond me and onto her. So I cleared my shit up and behind me as well. And I did a lot of that. And as a result, she didn't have to carry it. And now what we have is Ava walking her own path with her own mission and purpose and her own challenges, which she signed up for. Can't have our children going free from it all, because at the end of the day, they did come through to learn. But you don't want them going into drug addiction like I did, or 3 nervous breakdowns in their lives and lots of violent relationships. You don't want them going there to find themselves. I went through that, so she didn't have to, but I need to clean all the shit up. I can't just leave anything untouched. And as a result of doing that, I've now held the space for her to basically, find herself. And this is the thing. We all have very, very powerful connected children. All of us do. And they all have the potential to tap into high energy streams and tap into the stars and channel the rest of them. You know, a lot of people kind of like tap into that and go, it's only their child. It's not. It's each and every one of them. The same idea is like each and every one of us are powerful channels. We are so gifted and crazy mad abilities. So it's not just one or a few of us. We're privy to it all. We've all got the same, we all drink the same Kool-Aid. And it's the same with the kids. But what happens as parents, we go, oh, I need to step away from my post and, and make sure that they receive what they've got to receive, take them to meditation classes. Let me tell you, just in my parenting experience, you go and do that. And even though you're basically thinking it's the best thing because your child is spiritual and maybe they can see dead people and maybe they channel Jesus over their breakfast cereal before they go to school or homeschool, that's great. But at the end of the day, they're so well evolved, they can find their own way. So what is your path in all of this? What is your role? Your role is to clean your shit up, to make sure that your stuff is tight, to make sure that if you are with a sacred other and you are 2 parents that are together, that the father nurtures the mother. So the mother can feed the children. That's the divine balance. I spoke about that in my other video. That's the way it rolls, And if you do not have the blessings to have a sacred other there for whatever reason, and you're just a father on your own, or you're just a mother on your own, it is your purpose, it is your responsibility to go and find that nurturing for yourself and put yourself first. Because if you're nurtured as a space holder / starseed parent, if you fill that cup, that child of yours is going to get exactly that. They don't need you to point out how to channel or how to be an amazing starseed superhuman, because they've already got that on board anyway. So the responsibility as a starseed parent is to make sure that this is all clean. And I mean, it's a little bit like, you know, would you put your child in flea infested house, dirty sheets on their bed, have the cockroaches everywhere? You just wouldn't live like that. You wouldn't allow your child to live in a space like that, because it's just not cool, and nothing good can come from living in that dirtiness, you know, or low vibration. It's exactly the same as your energy field. You've got to keep this super clean, and then they can actually bask in that light and receive that frequency and grow with that, because their frequency will recognize yours. And that's all that needs to happen. You don't have to go and do and make or whatever. So it's really important, that is, in my experience. And like I say, my children are now 21 and 16 years old, and it's been a really powerful journey, and it's going to continue to be so. And by me just stepping back and allowing them to be in their spirit and tap into who they are. Look, it's hard. It's hard. I shan't lie. It's hard. You know, you've got to step back and let them be who they want to be. They will find their own gifts. And my two kids are doing it rapidly and with no ego as well. It's just chilled vibes, because we don't make a big thing about it. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, it's to trust and know that they will find their way. Everybody's going to complete their mission, including your kids. You know, they will be amazing and awesome to their highest degree. Just let them live their earthly life and go on their journey and experience that. Yeah, so I mean, like, that's like, this is such a huge subject matter, and it's big. There's big things in this, because it triggers a lot as well, because, you know, having a child is probably the biggest trigger of being so fearful. You're so fearful because you just don't want anything to happen to them, but ultimately that's what you're creating in your reality. You have to address your own fear of loss, of not feeling safe or supported or protected. That's an inner journey. So you start tapping into that, you will parent from a completely different place, because a lot of kids, when they are held onto too tightly, they start developing ailments themselves. You'll notice that. I did that, because that's been my whole parenting journey. Even Ava. Now I'm stepping back. I'm like, well, actually, your shit, not mine. And I always say to my kids, I'm sorry, but you and I have done work on that. This is your own journey and your own pathway. Because let me tell you, teenagers will try and send it back to you and go, Mom, whoa. I'm like, no, yours, you know? So that's good to have that clarity as well. So I'm going to leave it there, because there's a lot more that I want to speak about Starseed parenting, because we're all just trying to figure it out at the end of the day. And there is no right or wrong. This is the whole thing. Do not look left or right to see how that person's doing it, because they're not you. You have a whole frequency and uniqueness in you. And so does your child or children that you're parenting. That's unique to you. So just let it unfold, man. Hold the space, clear your shit, and away you go. Peace.